All right, I got a really good comment. Thank you, Kalia, I guess is your name. Democratic socialism is the balance you mentioned because of the way it emphasizes supporting local economies, communities over large scale enterprises. It just gets a bad rep because of the S word, capitalism. Period. Capitalism. And then she goes on. Capitalism isn't bad, but it's become unchecked and unregulated, which is where we get monopolies and exploitation. You can still have free market in a democratic socialism. Okay, again, we're doing catchphrases. So here's the problem with this. If you go down to what it actually means, and English is spelling, English is basically witchcraft. It's spells. Okay, so if you can get that, it's really important. So if you go down to what these things actually are and you break it down, that's where you find the keys to these things and why they have become catchphrases. Um, Democracy and socialism both are new words. They're both basically new words that came from the 1800s, from the Industrial Revolution, and what you guys call, colonization and stuff. All right, and all of that came through the capitalism. Now, uh, unchecked and unregulated. Okay, you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? So regulations are what are causing problems with us right now. Um, we we should be self-regulated. We should be self-regulated. And in anything that is important to you, you want to be self-regulated. You want the freedom to do what you want to do. Okay? So here's some examples. Tattoos used to be illegal in the state of Oklahoma. Uh, Medical cannabis was actually legal in the 80s, but you had to have a doctor's prescription for it. So recently, Oklahoma passed medical marijuana uh, because people wanted the freedom to be able to smoke it whenever they wanted to and not have to have a doctor's prescription. Okay, so in both of those cases, they did not want the regulation that there was. So they traded that for different regulation so that they could have the freedom to do that. Okay? Whether you agree with it or not, it's two examples that people here in Oklahoma were wanting to be able to get tattoos anytime they wanted to, and they were wanting to be able to smoke pot anytime they wanted to. Now there are regulations that go into that to keep the tattoo joints clean, and to, and those, I would argue, are something that people need to take responsibility of themselves. The tattoo artists need to care enough about their customers that they're willing to keep the place clean without the government having to tell them to do that. Okay, and I would argue that the cannabis situation, that people, there are regulations now that you can't carry a pew pew if you've got the cannabis card or the medical marijuana card. You can't drive heavy equipment, construction equipment, if you have that. So there are things you can't do, freedoms you give up in order to do that, right? Which should be common sense. It shouldn't have to be regulated. Now, I'm not going to argue that. The word social in this social democracy, social comes from to follow. And generally speaking, the people who are throwing around these catchwords don't want to be seen as followers at all. You guys don't want to be seen as followers. We're throwing around catchphrases like sheep and sheeple on a regular basis. Both sides are doing that. And why? Yeah, because they don't want to be seen as the followers. None of us want to be seen as the followers. We want to be seen as independent. So social means basically the opposite of independence. So whenever you're talking about socialism, you're talking about not independence at all. So do you want to be independent and you want to make your own decisions? Do you want to own your own stuff? Or do you want to be social and you want to be following other people and not own anything of your own? Because that's what that basically means. Go down to the etymology of the words and where this is coming from. Okay, and then let's see, I didn't get that one looked up. Democracy. Democracy historically has always ended in totalitarianism. You go back to Rome. Rome was a republic, and then it was a democracy, and then it was a totalitarian empire. Okay, boom, boom, boom. And that's, look up the history of Rome. I'm pointing at my computer here. And then this is where things started to really go south, south in the U.S. as well. Okay, so the Republicans were fighting slavery. The Democrats were the slavers. Okay, and you can look up the old documents and stuff. The Democrats, democracy, were the slavers. Okay, so it was the Republicans fighting the Democrats to get rid of slavery. And then just as soon as President Lincoln was assassinated and they got Democrats back in office, they took away the human rights of the ex-slaves. That's what they did. And the Republicans have been fighting for freedom for everyone all of this time. At this point, there's no difference between the two, okay? At this point, there is no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats and the socialists, okay? They're all doing the same thing, and they have been for quite some time, at least World War II. You can take it back that far and see how they all ended up on the same team, and they talk different rhetoric, but they pass the same stuff. They just do it a little bit differently, okay? So, and we could go into that if you want to bring up, any certain things, as long as the platform will allow it, because it won't allow me to talk about some things. Any of the platforms won't allow me to talk about some things. But if you look up the etymology of these words, so you can see where these words actually come from and what they're talking about, then you will see democratic socialism started in Russia, and it was the switching over to a one-party state in the Soviet Union, and that's where you ended up with the communism. That's where you ended up with more people not being around anymore, heading to glory, than the Nazis ever did. And you need to remember that a majority of our Congress people and all of our presidents except one have been related, including Obama. They're all related. They're all cousins. They all come from the same capitalist royal family. They're all on the same team, and they all want basically the same thing. And they will all say it at some point in their speeches. They'll all say it. So stop with the catchphrases. We need to stop putting people in boxes and using these catchphrases on them. Look up the etymology of the words that you are using. Nice means bully, and bully means nice. I mean, just if you want to be kind and you want people to be free, then you really need to pay closer attention to the words that you're using. So anyway, leave me more comments, leave me some more thoughts, and let's talk this out. Communication is going to, that's the best thing, communication. That's what we need. Thank you.